rise.
I, Marie Lahai, do promise that my testimony I have come to give to the TRC of Liberia is the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Please be seated. We want to say good afternoon and welcome to the TRC public hearings. This is a forum established with support of the government of Liberia and international community to give Liberians an opportunity to reflect on the past in the hope that we can learn lessons from the mistakes of the past and find a way forward for lasting peace and reconciliation in our country. And your coming today to share with us is a great contribution to that process, and we appreciate it very much. I will introduce the panel of commissioners to you, after which we ask you preliminary questions, and then you can go into your testimony. Sheikh Afuma Kone, Per Brambu, Chera Coleman, Dede Dolope, Massa Washington, John Stewart, and I'm Jerome Fuedia. We say welcome. To begin with, can you kindly repeat your name?
My name is Marie Lahai Vai.
Where do you reside currently?
I live in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota.
Your age, please.
I'm
Date of birth.
What?
Your age or date of birth?
My age, I'm 50 years old. I was born 1958, January 24th.
Your vocation?
Come again?
Occupation, what you do?
Presently, I'm a nursing assistant, but back home, I was a senior secretary at the National Bank of Liberia.
Senior secretary?
Yeah.
At the
National Bank of Liberia.
National Bank. When did you migrate to the U.S.?
June 5th, 1995.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much. You can proceed now with your testimony.
Well, I'm glad to be a part of this day today. But just before I talk about the evil, I would appreciate if I'm given a chance to talk about the goodness of God too. Because but for His grace, I would not have been here today. So I'm going to read from the book of Acts chapter 4:12. Neither is there salvation in any other, for there is no other name under heaven given among men whereby we must be saved. And it was by that name that I got saved. In November the 23rd, the afternoon, at about 2 or 3:30, I re-entered Liberia from the Bowater side, Liberia, Sierra Leone border, because it was announced a month before or two that there was a ceasefire and that shooting and killing has subsided because either ecomog or there was some negotiation between Liberia and the international world, and there was a ceasefire. Believing there was a ceasefire, I decided to take the opportunity to go into Liberia from the Sierra Leone side to see if I could get my mother out of Bombing Hills, where I was born. And as soon as I crossed the Bowater side, I got into the hands of the rebel then. And they asked a few questions. And I told them I had come from Ivory Coast, but I flew into Sierra Leone with the hope of re-entering Liberia for my mom and the rest of my siblings. And they asked me which flight I flew into Sierra Leone on, and I told them the Ghana Airways. And the first thing that came out of those people's mouths were, those were the war planes that were bombing us, and these people are on reconnaissance. Effective immediately, I was stripped buck naked, tied, and thrown into a pickup. They managed to give me my bra and put my pants back on me. I was not alone. I had a girlfriend who lives in Philadelphia now. She was with me. She was going for her son in Cape Mount. And so we decided to together enter Liberia. And we stayed at Bowater side until 6 o'clock. They were waiting for one Colonel Dixon. I don't remember his first name, but I know they said they was waiting for Colonel Dixon. He was the commander then in that area. Finally, Dixon comes, and they put us out of wherever jail they had us confirming. And then he went on the little hut, and he started interrogating us. Why did you re-enter Liberia? And I stated why we entered Liberia, like I just said. And he said, but why did you leave in the first place? It was like there was no end to any answer for any question. If you say I was born a Liberian, he would ask, why were you born a Liberian? If you say I was born in Birmingham, why were you born? And so there was no remedy to any investigation that time. And so I heard a little old lady I saw her trying to make her fire, but there was no fire between the rocks. But apparently she had heard who I was because I got connection with Cape Mount and Birmingham. That's a family thing there. And apparently my name had traveled that I had been arrested. And then apparently she knew I was taking the light because I knew I was innocent. Later did I know everybody that was getting killed in Liberia, some of them were not crying, they were not Grebo, they were not Madingo, but were just getting randomly killed. But you have to be in that position to know that's what was happening. And then she tried to light the fire, and the only thing I noticed, she was trying to put things together, but she wasn't doing anything much. The only statement I heard from her was, "Invite, be careful, the man only kills women." And I turned. And she repeated it, but actually she was, be careful, he only noted for killing women. And I got serious, and I turned from her. I didn't notice her again. And I looked at my girlfriend. And then this Colonel Dixon was interrupted with somebody whispering, and then people would come and whisper to him whether they gave him more information or not, that I don't know. And I turned to her and said, we are in danger. I said, because that old lady just said that this man kills only women. So he put us in a car, and they drove us all night until we got to Bombing Hills from Bowater side. But in Clay, a Ghana girl was picked up from Clay, tied and stripped naked too. And then they brought her little mulatto son and threw him into the car, or in the pickup then. And a few other of their members, female, were there who were not tied. I think they have 3 female that were in the car who were part of them, who were not tied. So it was me, it was Gloria, and this Ghana girl that were tied. And the baby was just thrown into the car. And when we got into Bombing Hills by midnight, there's a little hill that you call Conde. That was I was born and grew up. And we stopped in Conde, but it was black dark, but I grew up in this place, so I know it even after dark. And they told us to get down. We got down out of the car. We went to a very beautiful little house, whose house I don't remember. And then they started the investigation all over again. Why did we enter, and blah, blah, blah. And we started the same old explanation. I came to get my mom. I was born here. My mom is a nurse here. I got my siblings here. And the long line of story. But they still refused to accept it. I'm telling you, the whole town knows me. I can walk you to where I live. I can walk you to where I was going. That was nothing. They didn't want to hear that. That was absolutely not what they wanted to hear. And then I noticed they left me, went to Gloria. She explained her story, and then they went to this Ghana girl. And then they started mobbing her. By that time, I was numb. I knew I was going to die. And they beat her and mobbed her. But it did enough until I thought she was dead. So I consoled myself. And then they took the gun, the sharpness of the gun, and they rammed it in her. When they rammed it, I'm sorry, but I came to say it like it is. And they rammed it in her. And I'm like, God, I know by now you have taken her life, so there's nothing down there that she's feeling. But to my surprise, she managed to lift her arm up to try to take that gun out of her, and I collapsed, knowing that she was still alive and she was feeling that gun being rammed in her. And I kind of didn't know what to do. I'm sorry for this part being emotional. And I moved my face. And then one of the men looked at me and said, I think he felt guilty, and he said, yes, they did it to our women, and I'm going to do it to her. But I didn't say a word. By that time, I was praying real hard. And when they took the gun butt out of her, I heard one of the women in the back saying, you better throw that thing far from here, because when you people throw it away around here, it smells when you leave. Or Liberian. You better throw that thing far from here, because when you people throw it around here and you leave, it smells. And then the little boy was twisted by his head with his feet elevated from the ground. And he and his mother was thrown away like a garbage. And I waited for my time, and God stopped them and took us to prison instead. It was God. These people didn't know me. I was not any better than the Ghana girl and her baby, but it was just God's intervention. He put us in a car, and he drove us to the police station. And then they finally took the pants off us now. And then they tied us again. And they threw us into prison for investigation tomorrow morning. Usually, from what I've noticed or from what I witnessed, when you are tied and you sleep in tabe, you don't live. So at about 12 midnight, we were numb. We could yell no more because our arms were not feeling anything anymore. And then the original people who arrested us went their separate way and left us to the provost, they said, for the jail. I learned all of that while I was in prison, provost. And he came from across the street and he said, what are those two women? That's the statement he used. And I heard it and I'm like, Gloria, they're asking for us. And she said, what more do they want? I said, well, you know we're not living, we're just dead here. It's just a matter of time. And he ordered us out. And he said, write your statement. So that was an opportunity to be loose for a little while. And they loosed us, and I wrote endless mess just to stay from being tied. I just kept writing. And then he said to me, it's almost 1 o'clock, and you stay writing your statement? I got to go home. And then I'm like, he's about to tie us again. That was going to be the second round of tie into the raw flesh. But then this flesh has opened, it has been divided like a breach. There was no blood. All the time I was tied, I did not see blood. And I'm like, this man is going to tie me if I don't keep writing. But then by the grace of God again, he said, put them in prison and tomorrow morning retie them. And I chunk us right in prison, and we slept on the floor, and I saw a tire, and I laid my head on the car tire. There was a car tire in there. And I laid my head on that tire for a pillow on a raw floor, and we're naked by then. And by that time, just about the next morning, 6 o'clock, a lady came, and she put that rope right back into my flesh, put it right back into my flesh. And I asked her, can you change the spot? And she said, no, if I change the spot, they will know you did not sleep in Tabe. So I have to put it back in the raw flesh. And that's why I went and she put it in there and she pulled it and I yelled. And of course, after hours of yelling, I had to stop yelling because my arm became numb. And then about 11 o'clock, another man named Richard Kim, I don't know who he was, but I think he was another commander. This time we haven't seen Dixon. We walked out of Dixon investigation home and went to the police station. I haven't seen Dixon after that. So there was a new investigator that came this morning. His name was Richard. And he said, where are the women? And they brought us up, but we were tired because they had retied us about 6 o'clock that morning. And he said to us, he said, are these the people that slept in Tabe, Provo? You joking with me? You think I don't know when I tie people and leave them that they're not supposed to be alive? And the Provo was like trim, he was an old little man. And all along I kept praying. And then he said, untie them. And they untied us and he said, what do you want? Why did you come into Liberia? And I'm like, this is a Liberian asking me, why did I come into Liberia? And I explained the story for the third or fourth time. And he said, well, I'm going to have you taken to Oliver. If any Liberians here, as I'm sure, know the name Oliver, he was the commander then in the whole district from Dew River, is that Dew River or Dew Bridge, all the way down. Mano River, you name it. He was the commander there, Oliver. And he said, well, we get Oliver to see you people. And they put us back in jail, tied again. This is the fourth round of time. Of course, you know, I didn't have any feelings now. I was just waiting. And when I look, my menstruous just grabbed on me. I got messed up completely. I'm sorry about that, but I came and I swear to God I was going to say the truth, and this is the truth. Not because I want to cram people down, but there has to be something done in Liberia about us living in peace. And about 1 or 2 o'clock, they opened the prison compound and they said, the commander wants to see you people. We were naked by then and I was bleeding, I was menstruating by then, I'm sorry. I am sorry. And then coming out as dirty as I was, and they yelled, oh, she's nasty. But they didn't care. And they said we must walk a distance from here to the beginning of the junction, was where the Oliver has put some chairs and was sitting before some stores. In Birmingham Hills, we have Lebanese that build stores. All these stores were closed by then because the Lebanese have ran away, or the Syrians have gone. And they have 4 or 5 chairs and were supposed to be walking to the tribunal. And some of them started arguing, no, put them in the car. No, how can I put this nasty woman in my car? And that's how they carried on until they reached a key and said, get in the car. Let's make the execution easier and faster. It was the statement he made, and they put us in the car. And as soon as we got before Oliver, he said, why did you bring this woman to me like this? Find her clothes. Apparently that saved me too. And they rushed and formed me clothes because he didn't want to see me bleeding, so he formed me clothes right away and wrapped it around me. And then he started his investigation. Why did you come? The same old explanation. I came to get my mom out of here. My siblings, my mom is a nurse here. She works in the hospital. From LMC to government hospital, and I was born here in a long story. By that time, the entire town had gathered. And everybody who kind of knew me would walk away. If they really, because by night they have heard they have arrested me. And by morning they came to make sure it was me. I would look at people, they would walk away. I was there not to say hello to anybody. And they were there not to say hello to me too. And then a little boy came near me and said, Sister Marie, are you ashamed? And to be brave for that little boy to stand up and say, are you ashamed? And I turned to him and said, no, I'm not. He said, don't be. And he walked away. And then Oliver put his hand in his pocket. He took out $20 Liberian. He said, take them to the drugstore and dress their soul and bring them to my house. And then he was living pretty close to the nursing compound, all the way near the hospital. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to be exact, and there are a lot of people who don't know what I'm talking about, but I hope there are people who know what I'm describing. And they drove us down to the drugstore, and this man started, trying to see what he could do. And then one of the guys said, you're wasting too many time with these people. You want to go get a body where we're going to throw them and get an injection? He said, no, they send them here to be taken care of. I have to do the right thing. He said, but you're wasting time. And he went and sat down back in his car. And the man in the drugstore said, I'm just trying to kill time, Ivory. I'm just trying to kill time, but it's a matter of time before you people die. When they strip people naked, you are condemned. Say, I have hope when you are not naked. But when they strip you people naked, that means you are condemned. So I'm just wasting time, just a matter. I'm just killing time here. And I said, okay, go ahead. Do what you can do. And just about the time the boy came again, Oliver said you should bring these people to his house. And then Richard said, I will bring them. If I wanted to kill them, I would have killed them last night. So let him stop hurrying me or else I'm going to kill them here. And he put us in the car. He drove us all the way to Oliver's house. When we got there, Oliver investigated us again. That was his second investigation. And then he told them, take them back to the prison compound and I'll take them to Gange. Take them back to the prison compound, I'll take them to Gange. And they started arguing whether we should walk from nursing compound all the way Vata, or whether we should take the car. And in the final analysis, they decided to put us in a car. And they drove us to the police station and they put us in there and they didn't tie up. But then my arm couldn't stretch anymore. Gloria's arm couldn't stretch. If we stretch our arm, we're going to be stretching the opening. So we got to keep the opening. So we had it all along while in prison. And I see he by itself. And we stayed in jail for 3 months. It was a daily investigation over whether to execute us or not. And people trying to come into us will be threatened, and some of them will be thrown in jail, some of them will be beaten, and people stopped coming. But God was good. He kept us alive. And then on my birthday, I decided, Father, if I'm going to be executed, I'd rather die sick in this prison compound, but I don't want God to hit me. And that night, this strong headache took me, and I thought I was going to die. But it lasted for a while, and then it stopped, and then I knew God was good to me. I wasn't going to die. It's just a matter of time when he will come. But to make long matter short, there was a friend, like I told you, I grew up in Birmingham, who would come every night and tell me, Marie, they had a meeting today, and the argument was not easy, whether to kill you people or not. And this person would say, well, we are cheating. Other people on reconnaissance say we're killed. Why are we keeping these two with me alive? And the argument would be and it would end. I said, because my God was always in that investigation. And then one day, the Oliver who had killed so much, until Charles sent a message to him and told him the next time he killed anybody, he himself would be killed, came to us and said, I'm taking you over to Charles Taylor. Oh my God, how can I leave Birmingham to Banga when Monrovia was under another control? I didn't even believe it. I thought it was going to kill us and throw us in the bush. But anyway, there's nothing we could do. So that night, they got us ready and they put us on a truck. This time, the commander on the truck was Commander Mulba. I really don't know his first name, but I know his last name. A nice-looking, huge young man who would not say 1 or 2 words to you. And they put us on this truck and we started traveling from Birmingham to Cape Town, and I don't know the route, but I knew I passed through Lofa, Fasama. And when we got in the high forest of Fasama, they stopped. And he got down and started shooting in the air. And I'm like, Gloria, this is it. But again, he got back on the truck and he pulled off. And we got in Banga 4 o'clock that morning. To make long matter short, while I was in prison, we got raped. The spoons were used on us, and you name it. And there was a